So, building off what was briefly mentioned at the end of the alternating series test video, what we've been working with for the vast majority of these convergence tests is we're really testing the convergence of the absolute value of the general term, what we've called absolute convergence. Because we said, if this converges, then our original series must converge. But there are times in which that absolute value will diverge, but without the absolute value, it still converges. This is what's called conditional convergence. So some examples that we can look at, if I look at this p-series here, having the absolute value or not isn't going to affect anything, but with the absolute value, it's still 1 over n squared, which since the p-series is the power bigger than 1, this does converge absolutely, which means it does also converge conditionally. So anything that has absolute convergence must have conditional convergence also. But the key here is it converges. But here, with the alternating series test, we did this, and we already know that this converges by the absolutes, by the alternating series test. But if I took the absolute value, this is the harmonic series, which we know by p-series test must diverge. So this is an example of conditional convergence. For the most part, absolute convergence is what we're going to be dealing with, because if it has absolute convergence, we don't even bother with conditional convergence. It's conditional, it comes up if my absolute convergence didn't work. For conditional convergence, where we have to worry about this is with alternating series, like the alternating harmonic, or at the endpoints of our interval. And we'll talk about how we check that. But so for our p-series tests, as long as we're dealing with it, we try those with the absolute values. If it converges, it's absolute convergence, we're done. Don't bother with conditional convergence. If I have an alternating series test and that says it converges, at a minimum, it's converging conditionally. I then would need to check for absolute convergence. So, which we already talked about with this alternating harmonic would give me the harmonic, which we know diverges. So if absolute convergence occurs, don't worry about conditional. But if conditional occurs, you do have to check absolute. My next video will go through how we actually, in practice, are working with this.